On October of 2016, a longtime family friend began harassing my family. So I've known this guy since I was around 5. He worked in my dad's friend's car dealership as a person who basically maintains the exteriors, washes the cars, shines them, etc. My parents became fond of him because he looked very sweet, and they rather felt pity for him as he had horrible hygiene habits. They'd often buy him food, gift him clothes, and things of that sort. Around 2015, this man gets a job right across the street from my mom's job. He saw my mom one morning and they just waved at each other. This man starts calling my mom more frequently. Now my mom is extremely nice, so instead of just not picking up, she would talk to him. This guy becomes obsessed with my mom to the point she tells him to stop contacting her around May of 2016. All is well. This guy stops contacting my mom. Months later, he began to watch my mom. He would park his car in front of my mom's shop and just watch her. She noticed him, but she never saw it as a huge threat, so she never said anything. That's where things began to escalate. My mom was walking out of work with a coworker one day. Normal coworker friendship. My mom catches a ride with her coworker to a mandatory work event, so she wouldn't have to drive home till late, as these events end late at night. Meanwhile, the guy is watching them walk to his car. He suddenly thinks that my mom is having an affair with this guy and decides to follow them. They arrive at the place and my mom stays in the car while her coworker goes inside to check if it's the right location. The stalker walks up to the car, opens the door, slaps my mom, grabs a knife from his car, and slashes the coworker's tires. My mom is in complete shock and immediately calls her coworker to come outside. The coworker decides to not press any charges against him, even though he easily could, as there were cameras outside the location. Now, my mom mentions none of this to my dad because my dad is really explosive, to the point that he will get in trouble over this guy. So everything is okay for a couple of days, until this guy starts calling my mom nonstop and leaving her threatening voicemails. The voicemail said things along the lines of, "If you don't meet me at a hotel on Wednesday at 1 p.m., I'm going to tell your husband you're cheating on him." This scares my mom because my dad had a past with domestic violence, so she's scared my dad will believe him and beat her. Wednesday comes along, and when she gets to work, he is outside watching her the whole day, just watching her. She calls my grandparents. They're not old farts, as my grandma is an ex-military, ex-judoka, and is not one to play with. They immediately drive to my mom's job, but this guy starts harassing my grandparents and won't leave my mom's job. 1 p.m. comes around and my mom calls the police. The dude hauls across the street and hides, leaving his car at my mom's job. The police search for him everywhere, and he's nowhere to be found. The phone calls continue and things continue to escalate. This man decides to vandalize my mom's car. He throws tar all over my mom's car while the car is parked outside my house. The car is destroyed and my parents have to pay lots of money to be able to fix it. At this point, my dad knows of the whole ordeal and is set on killing this guy. We advise him to calm down because my mom is planning on getting a restraining order for him, and she didn't want my dad to ruin her chances or commit a crime. He continues calling and stands outside my mom's shop every day. This man starts driving by my house every day and begins to see me as a target. He leaves my mom a threatening voicemail saying he is going to vandalize my car, so at this point I'm even more terrified. At this point in the story, my mom has had to call the cops on him several times, but the cops say they can't do anything as he hasn't physically attacked her. My mom decides she's going to finally petition for the restraining order, with police reports and voicemails as proof. They set up a court date and give my mom a temporary restraining order until the court date, so approximately 2 weeks. This guy does not stop calling my mom, so my mom calls the detective in charge of her case, and the guy hasn't even been served with the restraining order yet. 3 days before the court date. He was notified with the court date though, so he tells my mom he has proof that she won't stop calling him. He then starts targeting the rest of us. I wake up one Saturday morning and my car has letters drawn all over the windows with nail polish. Luckily, we were able to just scrape it off gently, but by now I am nervous. I'm a nervous wreck. I started doing bad in my class and I had slept for about a month. He then begins to harass my dad with voicemails and phone calls, but luckily my dad didn't buy any of his bullshit. Finally, the court date arrives. This man shows up with his stepson, and his stepson starts talking shit to my mom, because of course, he only knows this man's side of the story. The judge calls them and does the usual questioning. Talks about police reports, etc. The judge asks him if he has anything to say or show. He says, yes, I have a phone bill that shows she called me more than 200 times in the past month. The judge says, okay, show me. Guess what? He didn't bring it. There's no such thing. The judge nods her head and says, okay, I reached the verdict. He was found guilty and my mom was awarded a restraining order for life. We finally have peace in our family again. So family stalker, fuck you, and let's not meet again. This incident happened in 2011, shortly after I returned home from college. My family home was in a relatively safe area, but around the time I left for school, it had started to somewhat decline. I didn't quite notice right away, and upon my return I was going through a severe depression and life crisis. At the time, I was staying up all night playing the newly released Elder Scrolls V, and on that particular occasion I had gone all day without eating or getting out of bed except for bathroom breaks. So I decided to go to a very popular 24-hour restaurant located very near my house. It is directly in front of a light rail train stop in my city. There are frequently homeless transient types that frequent the strip mall, but I never had an issue as the restaurant is typically packed with post-clubbing clientele at these hours. I parked directly in front of said restaurant and got down to order. My food was ready very quickly, and I got back into my car. The car next to me pulled out first. I hadn't noticed the driver get in, but I didn't give it too much thought, and he paused in the middle of the small parking lot. I took this as the driver being courteous and allowing me to leave, so I pulled out and went on my way. As I drove home, the car that had led me out was apparently traveling in the same direction as I was. Just to be cautious, I didn't go home right away. I kept driving past my residential area, going non-essential ways in circles. Basically, this car continues to follow me. I continued driving until I saw an approaching yellow light. I decided to run the red light. The driver behind me did as well. It was at this point I started to get scared. I left my cell phone at home because I was going to be gone for 10 minutes, max. Dumbass. So I made an impulse decision to go to my residential area. The streets there make up a weird labyrinth of cul-de-sac and through the streets unless you know it well. It is very easy to get turned around. I turned into an adjacent condo complex that had another entrance directly in my area, but whose roads were windy and confusing. I was able to get some distance between me and my pursuer, but not much. As we exited the condos, he was able to see me make a quick right uphill. I drove quickly at this point, using my knowledge of the area to my advantage to lose him or her. We did this dance for a good 20 minutes before I was able to round the corner near the particular cul-de-sac where I lived without him in my sight. My house is adjacent to the corner home, and the driveway is designed so that cars parked next to the garage aren't visible from the street. I turned very quickly into my driveway and shut off the car, locked it so all the lights would turn off. I sank into the seat as much as I could, trying to avoid being visible. After a minute or so, I heard a car drive down the cul-de-sac. I heard it turn around at the end of the street and to drive back the opposite way. I don't know for sure if that was my follower, but he continued on his way. I ran into my house after that and cried. It was the first of a series of events that would happen that year to open my eyes as to how I really needed to take care of my safety as a young woman. So, mystery driver, let's not meet ever again.